Let's call the Board of Directors meeting for August 9th, 2023 to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Denise, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Director Walper.
Here.
Director Martinez. Here. Director Berman.
Here.
Director Johnston.
Here.
Director Shibahara. Here. Vice Chair Wheeler.
Here.
Chair Rydell.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Welcome, everybody, out in the internet world. We're going to start. We have 3 board members who were re-elected, so we're going to start by swearing in the 3 officers that were re-elected, which is myself, Vice Chair Wheeler, and Director Walper. So if you wouldn't mind facilitating my
Certainly.
oath, that would be great.
Let's get that started. So repeat after me.
Okay.
I state your name.
I, Ken Rydell,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Oregon,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Oregon,
and the policies of the Estacada School District.
and the policies of the Estacada School District.
During my term,
During my term,
I will faithfully and impartially discharge the responsibilities of the office
I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I thought you were going to keep that
All
so I
right.
could read it.
I am going to take care of your swearing in, Vice Chair Wheeler. So,
Should I be sitting down or standing up?
we did mine sitting down. So
Okay, I'll sit
You
down.
want to stand up?
No, it's okay. I have shorts on.
Let's stay here so we can get the microphone. All
Let's do
right, so if you please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Ben Wheeler,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Oregon,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Oregon,
and the policies of the Estacada School District.
and the policies of the Estacada School District.
During my term,
During my term,
I will faithfully and impartially
I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the responsibilities
discharge the responsibilities
of the office to the best of my ability.
to the office of the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right, nice job. Director Walper, you're up. Raise your right hand, please. I state your name.
I, John Walper,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Oregon,
Constitution and laws of the State of Oregon,
and the policies of the Estacada School District.
and the policies of the Estacada School District.
During my term,
During my term,
I will faithfully and impartially
I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the responsibilities
discharge the responsibilities
of the office to the best of my ability.
of the office to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome aboard. All right, so next up on the agenda, it is that time of year that we appoint board officers, so board chair and vice chair. So we will start that off by asking for nominations for board chair.
I nominate Ken Rydell for board chair.
Okay?
We need a second?
No. Any other nominations? I think before that I have to say, yes, if selected, I am willing and able to serve as the board chair. Okay, any other nominations? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Carries.
Thank you all very much.
Congratulations, Ken.
Proud to continue to serve in this capacity, so this will be year 3 for me as the board chair. And so I appreciate your guys' faith in me, and if there's anything you need differently from me in this role, please don't hesitate to let me know. So, all right, next up is the nominations for vice chair, and I am going to nominate Vice Chair Ben Wheeler.
Thank you.
Ben, if selected, are you able and willing to perform the duties?
If selected, I am willing and able to perform the duties.
Okay.
In
Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, let's vote. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Congrats, Ben.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, I'm here for, this is it. I have to retire. Right?
No, this is only your second.
This is
year.
your second
Vice
year
chair.
as the vice chair.
Okay.
You are eligible.
You are eligible for
For
2
2
more
more years.
consecutive years.
Yes.
Vice
It's
Chair
a 4
Wheeler.
years? Or
Yeah,
3?
4. This is my 3rd. It's 4 years total.
It's okay,
Well, I'm
Ben.
going to check that policy, Chair. I thought it was 3 years and then you had to switch.
I thought it was 3 as well.
I
Okay.
thought it was 4, but
I
go
thought,
ahead.
let's double check to
We'll
make sure that
double
we're,
check.
either way, we're still completely legal at this point in time. with
That's
these
true.
ones, so.
Yeah.
All right. We will double check that. Okay. So, I guess the other thing, Denise, was this meeting properly notified?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. So we need a motion to approve or amend the agenda as presented.
Chair Rydell, I move to approve the agenda.
It's been moved,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Assuming since it's approved, there's no discussion needed, so all in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Thank you. On to item D, Board of Directors reports, and we'll start with Director Walper.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to bring up a meeting that I invited Ryan to, and it was over at Lock Buildings, and they have a fantastic program that they're doing. It's on entrepreneurship, and they take 20 students at a time, and it was absolutely phenomenal. They take the kids to various different facilities, to Medallion. Nolan Bechtel set up a real nice lunch for them. They went to, Northwest Technologies. I think you all know that I have a heart for that. I really want kids to get involved. They really don't need a college education to make good money and to support themselves. And I'm really excited to see this happen. I wish you could have stayed another hour because the question and answers that they came up with they were listening. They were listening to both of us. They had some really good questions, and a lot of it just related back to what we had said to them. So I'm proud to be a part of that, and I sure hope that we get more and more involved in it as the days come. And then last night, I joined Danny and Maggie at Summer Festival over at Eagle Creek, and the people there were very receptive. They were kind. Did have a couple of questions, but that's good, you know. And one guy said to me, he says, "I don't know why we have to get a bond," and I told him what I thought, and I said, we haven't finished defining a bond yet. We have numerous options, and he seemed pretty good with that. And one of the biggest questions that I got was, why don't we utilize Eagle Creek School?
Yeah.
That was probably the biggest one that I heard. That's it.
Awesome, thank you. Thanks for sharing and thanks for being there.
Yeah.
Director Berman.
Yeah, real quick, So we all get these SMORE communications, right? And I've had kids in the high school, my own consecutive now the last 6 years. And I gotta say, what a great start from our new principal.
Yes.
Over the top, great communication. So I'm excited, but I'm not overly excited. You know, it's a good start. You know, I'm excited to see that we're actually having like a back-to-school barbecue. You know, we do that in other schools. We have families come in, get familiar with the staff, get familiar with the building. We hadn't done that at the high school as long as I can remember the last 6 years. So that, nice touch and really great communication coming out of the high school. So,
Denise, can you
That's the
get me
only,
on that list?
Awesome.
Can you get me on that list? Because I didn't get it. Yeah, thank you.
I don't think I got
I didn't open that can of worms, but
Yeah,
great communication that I received.
that was just to you.
it. Yeah, it's private.
Thank you for that, and I will cascade that too.
Great, thank you. Director Shibahara.
I just have a couple quick things. Excited about, school activities starting to happen, with August. I mean, summer's winding down fast,
Yeah.
like really, really fast. But there's some really neat things that are happening at the high school. I know, like there's a thespian theater camp that's happening this Friday, which is really neat that they brought in such talent. I don't know all the details, but I know it's a pretty big deal. And then, all the fall sports with my kids, they participate in soccer and, just feels like I'm excited about how we're starting and kicking off this next school year. I don't really have anything other than that.
Okay, thank you. Director Martinez.
More reports.
No reports, thank you. Director Johnston.
Thanks. I did have a couple things. Kind of on the summer series, but kudos to Maggie or the communication team. I've seen signs and table toppers and stuff on Facebook. I talked to one parent that said, you'd have to be living under a rock not to know these were going on. So kudos. I even saw a sign in George, or a couple of them. So there you go. Kudos so much. Great job communicating this out. I think it's been great. And then my next one's a little bit long. I apologize, but I wanted to do a summary of the youth baseball program since we just came to a close. I first wanted to say thanks to the field maintenance team, Mike, specifically Scott Fish, for his partnership. Anything I talk about after this, and none of it would be possible without the partnership, with us working together. So the growth of this program from 2020 has gone from 262 kids to 400 kids today. So that's 52%. We'll be at 440, 450 next year. So this year we had 35 teams pre-K to 8th grade. There was over 300 games played in Estacada in the months of May and June.
Wow.
Over 90% of these games were umpired by Estacada high school students. Over 85 teams visited Estacada from outside, which I don't have numbers, but positively impacted businesses in our community. A conservative number of people would be about 3,000 people have come into our town just for these tournaments alone, which I'm sure has impacted successfully our retail or sale restaurants. And then I wanted to talk about success of softball and baseball. So we had 117 girls on 10 different teams. Our 14U team went 24-0 in the regular season. I don't think it's ever happened before. Our 12U team just had 3 losses for a season. And both teams, 12U and 14U, won multiple tournaments throughout the year. Our 14U team, made up mostly of 8th grade girls, had played travel softball after that and had won state tournaments and other tournaments that they've been in. Those were not sponsored by their umbrella authorizer, which was CCGSA, so I don't have that information. But it was an amazing softball season, and I see it continuing to grow. And just benefiting our high school softball program as these kids come in more and more prepared to play very competitive softball. Baseball, I'm going to a little detail because I want to show you, I want to explain how big of a deal this is when I'm getting to my last point. So the vastness of JBO. JBO is Junior Baseball Organization. It comes under 3 umbrella organizations. And these are under 6A school districts to 1A school districts. There are 3 of them. One's called the Valley. These associations go all the way down south as Cottage Grove, up to Silverton, over to Philomath, over to Bend. There's another association called Westside, which goes all the way from Warrington to Newport to McMinnville to St. Helens. And there's the last one that we're in, which is called CCJBA, which is Clackamas County Junior Baseball Association, which has the Dalles in it, Madras in it, and then some Portland teams that somehow got in there. I'm not sure yet how they get in, but nevertheless they do. We have kids in grades, the JBO is set up for grades 3 through 8. There's 3 divisions, and they're separated by grade level: minors 3rd and 4th, juniors 5th and 6th, seniors 7th and 8th. Each division has 3 skill levels: national, American, and federal. We have never had a junior federal team. Last year was the first year we had a minor federal team. This year we fielded 12 JBO teams, including the first time we ever fielded a junior federal team. Of the 12 JBO teams, 10 of them made the postseason, which means that they had a 500 or better record. That means they won as many games as that they lost. Of those 10 teams that made the postseason, 4 went to state because they took 1st, 2nd, or 3rd in the CCJBA tournament. One of those teams, coached by your superintendent, junior federal, won the state tournament. As a success, which is an amazing feat, not just for him and his team, for a 4A school district to go out and compete with all of these other schools is amazing, and it's making a name, and it's just going to build our high school program. Our baseball teams as a whole, winning record, this is 12 teams, was 208 wins, 151 losses, and 9 ties, which is a 60% win record, which across 12 teams is just an amazing feat.
Yeah.
So I wanted to congratulate not only Carpenter, but the district for the help that you've provided to make this possible, and then for the rest of the people that have done all the work to help baseball go. Sorry for the long one.
Awesome,
Yeah.
love it. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Good job.
Vice Chair Wheeler,
Am I up?
you're up.
Well, everybody glazed over this, but our last board meeting was in June, and since then we've had a big deal around here. It's called graduation. It went off without a hitch. I thought it went fantastic out there on the new turf field. The new stage was pretty awesome. A little bit shaky, maybe we'll have to make some adjustments on it with all those people up there. But everything said and done, I think it was a great graduation. I missed last year's out here, so getting back with the group up there, I think all of us can probably attest it's one of our favorite days of the year. That and the first day of school are always 2 of the toppers. So graduation was a success. I can't touch on baseball. Youth football, let's talk about that since we're talking about youth sports. It started now. Last year we were 40 kids over what we were the previous years, and now we're another 10 above that. So needless to say, we're out of helmets, shoulder pads, pants, shirts, and everything else. So the next few weeks we'll be doing that. You'll probably see the kids out there. We have 6 teams, and they are fully loaded. So good things to come at the football too. So
Awesome.
that's it.
All right, thank you. I would just echo the Park Series, I think is a huge success, so really excited that those happen and looking forward to additional events in the future. But well done communicating that and getting those put together. Much appreciated. Back to school barbecue was mentioned. I think I'm running the barbecue for that, last I heard. So, but again, I would echo that. It's just nice to get kids and families to the school prior to the school year starting.
Yes.
And getting some of that relationship building going. The only other one I have, so this last weekend, the high school band and choir did a fundraiser for the Disneyland trip that is coming up in the spring. They did a can drive, so I don't know if anybody's ever done a can drive. Sometimes those go really well, sometimes they don't go so well. And Rendell and his group did such a phenomenal job of getting it put together, getting word out there that they made over $3,000 in a can drive. So if I'm doing the math right, that's 30,000 cans that were collected. So
That's a dime at a time.
that's literally a dime at a time. So, so that is going to make a huge impact on allowing those kids to take that trip to Disneyland, which is a really great opportunity. So really excited for that. Want to shout out to the music program for putting that together. So
Yeah,
I think that's it for me.
awesome.
All right.
Let's remember in October and November too that to authorize that out-of-state travel, the board needs to be aware of that.
What's the end goal number for that? Do we know?
It's roughly, it's a little over $1,000 a kid is what the trip costs.
And you probably said how many kids, but I didn't pay attention. I'm sorry.
It's around 50.
Wow.
Typically go for band and choir, so it's a large number.
Awesome.
So they do several fundraisers throughout the year. We've got some other community members that are helping to support additional fundraisers to make that as affordable as we can for the kids. So,
Excellent.
yeah. All right. Next up is strategic plan pillar reports. Engaged family and communities is up first. Come on down, Maggie and or Danny.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
This month in communications, we have a lot of projects that are in progress. Of course, back to school communication is a big one that we're focusing on right now. Just helping to support logistics for our buildings and leaders, especially our new leaders, making sure they have the tools necessary to communicate. And then continuing to push out information, whether it's school supply lists or upcoming bus routes. We are excited to begin launching our strategic plan. Of course, we celebrated the launch of it in June, but as we onboard new employees, bring employees back, and bring families back, we're excited to start communicating this strategic plan 2.0. We're also working diligently to get our calendar in the hands of all families and staff members. Again, every year we put out a calendar that has events from each school. We started that last year and it was pretty wildly successful. And this year we're including some fun facts about our facilities as well to continue to push forward information about our school facility needs. An additional project in progress is alongside that back-to-school communication, we always do a newspaper edition with Pamplin Media. This is one of the most cost-effective ways I've found to get information into families' hands. So we are doing that communication in English and Spanish, and it should be arriving in mailboxes around the end of this week. So it's always a good project to complete. And then Danny will talk a little bit more about how the park series is going, but I do just want to say in the marketing of that event, we really enjoyed knocking on every single door that did not have a no solicitation sign in the neighborhoods of Estacada,
Nice
from
work.
Cascadia Ridge to Lakeshore. We really enjoyed the conversations that we had. Those one-on-one conversations really helped move the needle. And just a really more grassroots approach to that we really enjoyed launching. And then additionally, over the summer, we always have a little bit of an overhaul of our website to make sure that things are functioning and ready to go for the upcoming school year. So we're working on that, but we've completed a significant portion of that so far. So I'll turn it over to Danny.
All right, my slide's a little busy because it has been a busy summer with community events. So I'll start out with the 4th of July parade. We decided to join nutrition services with 2 golf carts, and we went through, and the 2 new principals joined us along with a handful of other district employees, and we threw a lot of candy and got to wave at a lot of students, and it was really fun, and I think that's something that we'll continue to move forward doing. Summer Park Series is mentioned a handful of times. We had our 3rd one yesterday, and every single event has had more, what am I trying to, sorry.
Attendance, yeah.
Attendance, thank you. So our first one was at Campanella. We thought maybe the high attendance was due to people being able to walk and come enjoy, but Eagle Fern, last night, I served over 180 hot dogs to folks, and I think that it is due to our large campaign that we did. Even if people were not wanting to join, they did get door hangers on all of their doors, like Maggie mentioned, that did include information, which is hard to read, but there is a lot of facts of our school system, which are reiterated during the event, along with raffle items that we have everybody fill out a ticket, which allows us to collect information, names, and then we are also asking for them to check a box that asks if they are interested in, are they supportive of a bond initiative? So it's helpful for us to get emails and create lists of people that are supportive or people that we need to maybe provide more information to. Overall, since we like numbers around here, I did the math and we've served 430 hot dogs already. And next week we will be at McIver Park, so if anybody would like to join, we really appreciated Director Walper to join us, and he had a nice speech as well. National Night Out, Estacada, I believe, had their first event. It was just a really great opportunity to see more community members and be able to show how much our district prioritizes safety, what initiatives, protocols we currently take, and what goals we would like to meet if we were to move forward with bond funds being possible. Early Childhood Day is the 19th of this month. We're teaming up with Todos Juntos. We get to bring out families with younger children. We're gonna have a few tables there that will have student services, kindergarten teachers, more district representation, just to answer questions, school supply lists, anything that they may be curious about. And then, of course, back to school events, having a lot of
opportunity there to communicate with parents, get more feedback, and hopefully the barbecue and open houses. So lots of chatter in the community.
Any questions?
This is awesome. There's a lot of stuff going on.
That little flyer on the bottom right, is that, where it lists like 10 fun facts about the district? Is
Yeah.
that out there?
Yeah, so you would have received it in the mail, along with, we had put table toppers at most of the restaurants that would let us, along with, as Maggie said, we did door hangers, so we walked through
pretty.
all of the community. So whether or not they are a member of the school itself or even interested, they were able to take a look at what we had to say. So that was a really great communication.
Can we get a list of those restaurants that wouldn't support it?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
There was a varied level of support, but for the most part, most restaurants are pretty enthusiastic about
They
putting
are.
them out. So we plan to update that monthly, as well as send out new postcards and door hangers monthly. I believe we distributed 500 door hangers and about 6,500 postcards. Again, we have a little over 11,000 registered voters, but when you condense it down to households, it's about 6,500 households.
So that would be a no. You couldn't tell us.
That was a long one.
I mean, I wouldn't put it on YouTube, but I'd be happy to chat with you later on. We will be aligning our restaurant choices in my household based on how it went as well.
Our relationship with Todos Juntos, how does, and this might not be a you guys question, it might be more other staff, but how does that work? Do we have assigned people that are always here, or do we see the same faces, and are they engaging the same families? And I don't know, I'm not that familiar with it.
So Todos Juntos is ultimately a professional grant writing organization. And so what they do is they write a myriad of grants, particularly towards underserved demographics. And so then when they receive a grant, they partner with either the Malala School District, where they're based out of, or the Estacada School District. And so they hire staff to execute in partnership the grant that they received. So the money doesn't really belong to us, nor do the employees belong to us. They're Todos Juntos employees. So because of that grant nature and just the grant writing industry, we see a lot of turnover from people who are a part of the Todos Juntos program, because half the year they're here and then the other half the year they're looking for somebody. And so the consistency of Todos Juntos is always there because there's a consistent grant funding flow, but the people whom they hire to execute what the grant is for regularly changes. But think of them as an organization that writes grants all the time.
So as those staff or personnel are helping our students conceivably,
Yes.
how do we ensure that it's doing good and not just, hey, you're here one day and now all of a sudden you're not?
Yep. So primarily our principals and our director of teaching and learning has the relationship with the head of Todos Juntos. And so there has been numerous times where there's been some things that are counter to our mission, vision, and values. And we have frank and honest conversations about the service that they're receiving or giving to us. And they've been pretty responsive for the most part. But like, for example, we have hired some people to help us tackle ninth grade success. And our ninth grade success numbers have really skyrocketed since that partnership. There has been times where there's been really strong people in there, and there's been times where there's been really weak people in there. And we've worked through those processes. Another organization that we work with that's like Todos Juntos is the Ant Farm out of Sandy, and they're the same thing. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
job, ladies.
Nice job. Next up is building and facilities report. Mr. Ware, come on down.
All right, good evening. I'd like to start off with your operations report, talk about some of our capital improvement projects that we have in place or are going. First, our CRE HVAC projects. This is with a project where we're replacing the controls to the HVAC system at Clackamas River Elementary. That has started as of yesterday due to product delays and equipment. As you all probably are aware of, we've been delayed in this project, but we are starting by recalibrating our night purges so we can get cooler air into the building, so it's cooler in the morning, going through this hotter few weeks of early summer, or late summer rather, in the new school year. Some really great things or great wins to celebrate is the incentive amounts. Through SB 1149, they've calculated that we are going to receive $117,000 and some change in SB 1149 funds, as well as Energy Trust of Oregon has calculated based off the report $35,946. If all that comes through, which we anticipate it will be, that's a fully funded program or fully funded project. So while we're fitting the bill up front with our ESSER funds, we will get money back from ETO as well as SB 1149. The important thing to note down there is SB 1149 is paid to the district on a monthly basis. So it really depends on our energy bills on what those payouts look like. And it'll be over a course of 10, 15 years, but we will get that money back over time. So that's a big win for us and allows us to offset the costs of this much needed project. Estacada High School seismic upgrade project. As you recall, we received a grant for $2.48 million to seismically upgrade the main gym at the high school. We released the RFP in late May, early June. We've since have done a site walk and completed that site walk. We had 3 contractors, firms interested in providing a bid or a proposal, and that's due at the end of August. Is that correct? Yeah, I believe the end of August, I believe. And we have a committee that will review the proposals, make a selection, and bring it to the board for approval. So really not a lot to report at the moment on that, but it will start progressing as you've seen in the River Mill seismic project. Speaking of River Mill seismic upgrade project, we are doing very well. Again, short summer, a lot of work needed to get done. It's very impressive to see the contractors and the subcontractors get through the work needed to accomplish this project. To date, and this was actually done about a week ago, we have just over $1 million invoiced. Remaining allocated budget or amount of money is just over $840,000, and we've allocated, per the grant, $1.9 million. So we are on pace with budget. There is some contingency funds that are out there that we're exploring potential things that we could fold into the grant. Some of the things that we've done already that we're adding is additional outlets as well as LED lighting throughout the entire building, probably 90% of the building, and that's the main building, and some other structural upgrades and things that we can do to enhance the learning environment for our students. Substantial completion is 8/25. We meet on a weekly basis, and I ask the question in many different ways. Are we going to make that 8/25 mark? We're very confident that we're going to make that mark. We have plans just in case, like backup plans, just in case our classrooms are not ready. But our plan is that those classrooms will be ready by the end of next week. Teachers will be coming in on the 21st to be starting to set up and get support setting up their classrooms. So right now, if you were to walk into River Mill, it looks a little chaotic. Obviously, it's a major construction project, but we are on schedule, and that's very exciting to report out. Update on our district communication, our Vocera mini badge. We received, if you recall, through employee voice and other feedback, it was essential for us to have a more enhanced two-way communication system from our staff in the classroom to the administrators to different groups within the building. We have an escalated need of safety or response to student-related incidents, and we recognize that our typical radios are just not the appropriate system for that. So we went out to RFP and we essentially chose Vocera, which has the mini badge, which if you recall, been into a hospital. They all use these types of systems, and we've received those, and now going through kind of the implementation phase. We have started rolling these badges out to our administrators and to our district staff to really pilot and stress test. I can say that they are going to be a game changer. They are a wonderful quality product. We know they've been tested significantly in hospitals, and we are a new school district, one of few that are doing this in the nation. And so we're working with Vocera to make sure we have a top-end product and that our staff's voice is heard and they're supported when they return to the school year. So more to come on that, I'm sure. I just wanted to let the board know that we're progressing well with the implementation of that program. In June, I provided a list of things that our operations departments would be focused on in that short summer. I wanted to do a quick recap. In the summer food program, and this was, again, some data from last week, we've served just under 3,000 lunches, and that's in 18 days of operations. Compared to last year at this time, or in 18 days of operation, it's 2,300 and some change. Breakfast is down, but that's a lot of the reason is because we don't have a lot of morning programs anymore this summer, so we don't see as much breakfast consumption or utilization, but we have some reasons behind that. Preventative work, work order maintenance, work order completion 187, and that's not the routine deep cleaning that we've done every summer. Those are general summer projects that our administrators or staff are requesting to get done, and we've also completed 57 preventative maintenance work orders. Device collection, last year, we had a total loss of about 12% of devices. That's pretty typical. Anybody want to guess what we had lost this year? Mr. Carpenter?
8.
No, 0.02% loss. And so that is a huge, huge win to celebrate, and it's due to our technology department, the systems that they've implemented on communication, follow-up, and tracking, and to bring that loss down to 0.02 is very unusual, and it's very, very, very awesome to celebrate and to report out. Summer transportation, we've transported or supported 11 different programs, 16 different routes, 4 trips. We've also gone through a full emergency operation plan review with these stakeholders throughout the county to make sure that we're up to date, we have current language, and our operation plans are solid in the response of an emergency. Very excited to roll that out and get that implemented this school year as we made some significant changes. Any questions?
Good job.
Questions for Mike?
On the emergency operations plan, so a handful of years ago, we did the big to-do out at the Baptist, the church
Yeah,
formerly known as the
reunification.
Baptist, which is formerly known as the Christian Church, and now something else.
Grace Crossing.
Grace Crossing, thank you. What's the follow-up on that? Or is this what we're doing, the follow-up?
I'll speak to what we've done. When we did that reunification, we did do an after-action report and made a number of adjustments on things that we learned from that event, as well as things that we want to try to obviously improve and continue doing. Our goal is to start planning another reunification event, date, location, time to be determined, but it has been a couple years. And we found that exercise was very beneficial to the district for us to go through those processes, to understand where our gaps are and to continue and improve. And so that's our next step, is to do another one, maybe a different age group, maybe on-site potentially, but planning is very early in the phase, but we would like to do one soon. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mike?
One question on the high school seismic. Tentative schedule on that, is that next summer?
It'd be next summer. It'd be very similar to what we did with Rivermill. We'd go out to procurement for, well, we did that for the firm, and then go out for CMGC if the board elects to go that route, and then looking at plans going into next summer construction. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Mike. And next up, Finance and Accountability Report with Miss Christina Irish.
Thank you. Closer. Good evening, Board. The first I'm going to talk to you about is an update as of June 30th, our last year update, and this is as of July 31st. We are still currently working in June, or in 2022-23, hoping to close it this month, possibly next week, and then work with auditors. So this is preliminary numbers. Our revenue is projected to be $45.3 million. Our expenditures are projected to be $38.5 million. That's an ending fund balance of 6.8, which is about 18%. And I kind of talked to you briefly a couple of months ago about some of the things that were impacting that, one of those being the state school fund. The next is our year-to-date, and there are not very many encumbrances, but you can see that we spent 97% of our instructional budget and 91.5% of our support services budget. Our other uses is projected to be 100%, and our community services is 18.3%. For capital projects, we had revenue of $2.5 million, expenditures of about 1.8, and that is going to leave approximately 713,000. Any questions on last year before I start just touching on this year?
I would just comment that ending fund balance at 18% is solid, right? So that's a good, healthy number. But it's also a healthy number that we're gonna need to have coming into the next few years based on budgets and the next biennium and all of that stuff. So it's
Correct.
It's a very good number based on very good budgeting and very responsible use of the district's money, so
Great
much
job.
appreciated.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yep.
One additional note to capital projects, as Mike Ware talked about with the controls, the SB 1149 or whatever, we're spending, that control was an unexpected need, if you'll remember, as it broke. And so we're using capital funds to pay for that project. But our intention is, as those funds are returned to us through the energy efficiencies and all of the above, that will come back into the capital construction fund.
Over 15 years.
Over time, correct. Yep.
Okay, going into this year, it's very early in the year, so our projections are really aligned with our budget with, besides a few minor details, our resources are projected to be 44 million. I do have what we are adjusted state school fund at the 10.2 projected there. And then I had our projected ending fund, our beginning fund balance also. And then our expenditures are 30.1 million, 30.2 million. And
39.
oh, is it 39? Oh, man, my glasses. 39.2 million. Sorry about that. And then our ending fund balance is projected to be 4.8 million, which is about 13%. And just kind of a side note, we had talked a couple of months ago about possibly needing to do a supplemental, and I'm going to hold off on bringing anything into the board for, there's still some key factors such as closing out the ending the year and finalizing the classified contract. Once I have more positive information about the expenditures, I would be able to determine if we'll need to do a supplemental budget.
Sounds good.
Okay. So currently, our year-to-date expenditures is 3.3%. With our encumbrances, we're at 16.6%. A reminder that we have not done our first payroll for our instructional staff, so this is not encumbered payroll. So just to touch on that, you will see that change after our September payroll. So I'll bring that in October. And then our support services, we're currently year-to-date is 3.9%, and with encumbrance, we're at 45.2%. And then going into capital projects.
Christina, can you remind me what community services
Yeah.
is?
Yeah, that's great. That's pretty much anything Maggie does. A lot of her community, her parent involvement, some things like we don't have too many, which is why you see, but like homeless, any work that we do with that, that is all community services.
Thanks.
And so our budget, our projected revenue is 879,000, and that does include our new projected beginning fund balance. And our projected expenditures is 761,000. And we're currently projecting to end with 118,000. And that is all I have for you because we do not currently have any enrollment data to share. Any other questions?
When we were planning the budget, You said it ended on 10.2 for the state school fund?
Yes,
What did we build our budget around?
9.9.
9.9?
And you could see the budgeted number and in the general fund, I'll go back. So we budgeted 28.09 and I'm projecting, oh, nope, I didn't change that number, I apologize. I will get that number for next time and show you what the 10.2 number is gonna be. Sorry about that, I thought I adjusted that.
Yeah, just next time should be fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
But this is last year's, is it on
General
this coming
fund.
year's?
That's
no,
the-
this
that's
this year's
coming
years.
year.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
current.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Christina?
That happened.
All right, thank you. Next up, superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, board. I appreciate it. Believe it or not, the superintendent report is going to be relatively short today, but I am going to talk a lot about Salem and legislature. And so I look forward to addressing the board when it comes to that. So the first is that I want to make you aware of, which is brand new and effective immediately, as of July, is House Bill 2753. This actually comes from Senator Bowman, who actually represents the Dalles and came and visited Estacada as well. But he has led an initiative that now officially authorizes the ability for school board members to receive a stipend for their services as an elected official. Believe it or not, the state of Oregon is one of only a few states that doesn't compensate board members in some way or fashion. For example, as I've done some research on this, the state of Florida, who is mainly a county-led school district, not necessarily local municipalities, they pay their school board members between $30,000 and $40,000 a year as a paid school board position. It's probably now makes a lot more sense why we saw a lot of craziness in school board elections during that time, because there's actual finances that are tied to the desire of people having that position. But stipends are relatively common around the 50 states. I worked with 2 school districts in Wisconsin this morning on different issues, but at the same time I asked them if their school board receives stipends, and the answer to that is yes. I looked also and did some research, and the average school board stipend across the nation, this is just the median average, is $5,000. And typically, board leadership, which would be chair and vice chair, receive an additional compensation of an average of $500 in addition to. And so what we need to decide as a school board, probably over the next couple of months, is what do we want to do with this law? And as you can see, which the board was sent some information earlier today, there is a couple of choices. The first choice would be the obvious choice, and that is to receive just a flat stipend over the course of the year, and the board gets to determine that. It would be wise for the board to try to be in the range of what other people in the county are trying to do as well, although school district size is probably going to play a role in what that looks like. The second option, which again is the board's, it's the board's choice as to how they choose to do that, would just be to have full reimbursement for any expenses occurred as a school board member. And so, board members may need to, purchase business cards or purchase different various things, gas to and from a certain event, and the board could be reimbursed for those expenses as a board member. So nothing to decide at the moment. I just wanted to make you aware of this. This is a brand new law. All school districts are trying to figure it out. The Oregon School Board Association claims that they're going to have some advice and some policy drafts ready to go in the next couple of weeks. And so we don't need to rush into anything, but I just wanted that on the board's plate as we have a public deliberation about what that looks like for both now and set ourselves up for what that could look like in the future as well. So that's one. The second one I want to talk about is Senate Bill 732, which was approved also and finalized just this last summer. Senate Bill 732 requires each school district to establish an educational equity advisory committee. For school districts who are 10,000 students or larger, they must implement this year. For school districts 10,000 or less, this must begin in implementation in the 24-25 school year. So we have 1 year to build an educational equity advisory committee. I've also noticed that as new initiatives with funding from the Department of Education also requires us to have some type of committee who has underserved or underrepresented groups of people on these advisory committees. When we talk about Title I adoption, Division 22, which we present to the board every year, and the comprehensive plan, which you heard Scott Sullivan talk about 3 or 4 months ago as well. All of those now require some form of a committee as well. And so what I'm proposing to the board tonight, but we don't have to make a decision tonight, is what I'd like to do is actually set up some type of structure similar to that of the budget committee, where this is a board-appointed committee. And I'd like to see this committee be about 10 people who meets the needs of representing our entire demographic of our school district, but I want there to be an application process, very similar to that of the budget committee, and I would like this to be a board committee, so then at the end of the day, the district can utilize this committee, one committee, multiple times in an effort to comply with ODE regulations to solicit funding to support things. But at the same time, I think it also allows for a great collaborative opportunity for this board-appointed committee to maybe quarterly come in and give the board reports on things that are happening through their lens of working through the systems that ODE requires. And so this is new. And I wanted to just kind of work through some pros and cons in that. And maybe I'll just pause there for questions or clarifications about either the stipends or the equity committee.
On the committee, Ryan, when we compare that to the budget committee, that is appointed budget members plus the entire board that participates. So
True.
are you seeing this as that same type of functionality, or
Great
more
question.
like it's the half, it's appointed by the board,
Yeah.
but they're doing the...
Yeah,
they're doing
great
the work?
question. So I think by law, the budget committee has board members a part of it. I have not seen the law that requires board members to be a part of it like the budget committee. And so I think you're right in the latter part of that, saying it would be their half that you would ultimately empower as the board to listen, make suggestions, and then recommend, right? Because then at the end of the day, the board still approves Division 22, the board still approves the comprehensive plan, but the board will have known that your appointed committee has taken a look at this, and it meets the needs of the underrepresented and makes sure it has an equitable lens on it and ensuring that all populations are represented.
Okay, thank you.
So on the stipend, you said two options. I think there's really a third. We can reject it.
Yes, you can. Yep.
One correction on the stipend, you had mentioned Brian, or Bonham?
That's who Bonham's who I was thinking of.
So that guy's from the Dalles. The chief sponsor of this was from somebody from Beaverton.
Oh, okay, my fault. Thank you.
No big deal. It's just
Yep.
I was looking them both up as you're talking through them.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
we have time to digest all this stuff. And,
Absolutely.
And
Both of these things you have time to digest.
Okay.
I just wanted to get it on the board's plate for deliberation and
If I understand
conversation.
it correctly, we didn't need this law to get reimbursed for going to a board conference.
Policy already
Anyway, we
exists
already have
inside
that.
of that, correct.
Okay,
Yep,
Just clarifying.
yep.
I'll just add that Ryan's right about the rest of the country, though. I work with school boards around the country, and most of the school boards they're paid a stipend based on not the amount they contribute or the number of hours they serve, but just a flat rate for an entire year.
Yep.
Some of them do get an extra stipend for being actually committees and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I have my own opinion. I'll leave it till we can just talk about it at a different time. But it is true that there are a lot of boards that get money to serve on a school board or
Yeah.
charter school.
Yep. Thank you. That was new to me, though. I had no idea. Yeah, but now it turns out that is the case. So in conclusion of my short presentation today, I just want to echo and thank Maggie and Danny for putting on what I think has been the most successful community outreach that we've had, at least in my 5 years serving as your superintendent. I'm really pleased with the turnout, and we're capturing people who are not connected to schools, and that has been the demographic we have so struggled to reach. I also want to thank the board of directors for, you're so busy, but those who have had the opportunity to attend and just help out and talk to people, it goes a long ways. You represent them, and it's just been a great opportunity to shake hands and listen to stories and hear opinions, myths, concerns, all of the above. So that part's been very successful, and an excellent job on that. And then lastly, the board is going to continue to revisit the bond conversation. Really appreciated the work and participation and engagement of our last workshop. I think the last workshop left us with more options, not less options. And I'm hopeful that we can somehow lock ourselves into a realistic number. We've seen a low number, and we've seen a high number, which makes your superintendent nervous because I'm not sure what is real and what is not real. And so we just need to continue to look into that. But I think Eagle Creek Elementary School, I think remodeling the high school, I think building a new high school, I think all of those things are still on the table as we contemplate what is best for our community over the course of the next 20 years. And I'm hopeful we can find something that directs us to a more realistic number. So with that said, that is your superintendent's report.
Great, thank you. Questions for Ryan? All right.
You guys got any new numbers?
Working on new numbers. Okay. I will just say for the group on that is again, when we left that last meeting, I think one of the things we were trying to do is can we narrow this down a little bit and get something that's a little more concrete? And so I've got there's a couple folks looking at that to see what realistically, when we look at schools that have been built recently in similar areas, similar sizes, and what were the actual hard numbers, because that was information we really didn't get from that group, and that should be helpful. So more information is coming, and I anticipate that there may be some better options.
I'm hopeful too. And by the way, we pushed back one more time with the Closh group, and we said, "Are you serious?" And they said, "Yes." We doubled down. We are confident in those numbers.
So we'll verify those.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Superintendent Carpenter. Item G, reports and presentations, we have none. Item H, discussions, we have none. Item I, hearing of citizens for action items. We have none. On to item J, action items. The consent agenda includes a package of one or more items to be voted on as a unit. However, if any board member is not in favor of one or more agenda items and prefers to take a separate action or request to the chair anytime prior to the vote, we'll remove that item for a separate vote. And I will just preface this as well as we get through here, as everybody knows, this is the time of year where we do a lot of appointing. So when you think about the annual resolutions, there's a lot of this we do every single year. And so there's a lot of line items on here, but none of them are really new until we get down towards the bottom of them. So first up, can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
Chair Idell, I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll give the second to Rosa this time. Any discussion?
Probably the big one is just the new medication policy. It's revolving around Narcan, right?
Yep.
Other than that, pretty general, right?
Yep. And that was just the expansion of the ability to administer.
To administer, yeah.
That's correct.
Narcan.
And to have it on campus. Yep.
Which in
More than
today's
ice
world,
packs and aspirin, we can do Narcan now.
Yep.
which in today's world is a very good thing.
Oh, yeah.
There's been news stories on it every day on the news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moved, seconded, and disgusted. Struggling tonight, everybody. Discussed. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
All right, on to, thank you, I appreciate that. On to item K, resolution 2023-24-1.
Chair Rydell, I move to approve the annual resolution for the 2023-2024 fiscal year.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, so this is that big group where we appoint who's the clerk and who can sign and who can, all of that kind of stuff. So everybody got a copy of this in advance. Any questions?
Question on tuition rates out of non-resident student tuition rates. How often do we encounter that?
Never.
Okay.
Hunting license.
Yeah, out of state fees.
We have asked people to start recruiting a little harder, but no, I'm kidding. Yep.
Okay. All right, any other discussion?
I do have one more.
Yep.
As time goes on and conventional news media becomes less and less of a factor as far as newspapers go, at what point will it be OSBA that recommends that we pivot to something else that does that? That suffices that Pampa Media Group and the
Yeah.
Daily for
It's a good question.
Notices and stuff.
I
Yeah.
don't know the answer to
For
that.
notification.
Yeah. What I'm seeing from a trend is I think it will probably still remain as Pamplin Group, although I think the Gresham Outlook or something like that, the Sandy Gazette, I think Estacada News is gonna get gobbled up here probably before the year's over by a bigger community next to us, and that will have to be our
Okay.
thing.
Okay, no more questions for me.
That's a good question.
Good question. Okay, moved, seconded, discussed. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
All right, and to item L, substitute pay rates.
Chair Rydell, I move to approve the substitute pay rates for the 2023-2024.
Thank you, it's been moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded, any discussion? I think we've had a lot of discussion over the years.
Sure.
Over the last year and a half really on that, so
For
is
sure.
there anything you want to add to that?
No, just a reminder that the state establishes the rate. However, Estacada, the last couple of years, as we compete with other neighboring communities, we've upped that rate just a little bit to compete and incentivize people to choose on that day to come to Estacada instead of go to a different school district.
Okay. Any additional discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Thank you. On to item M, the facility use rental schedule.
Chair Adele, I move to authorize the Estacada School District to implement the following facility use rental fee schedule for the 23-24 school year.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Thank you, Director Shibahara. Any discussion?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Me too.
But I'm gonna bring Mike up for the question.
Maybe he's the answer.
He could be.
Who is the single point of contact to schedule all
Operations
these
Department.
locations?
Operations Department, so myself and administrative assistant.
So is this board backup actually what's going to be publicized?
Not the backup, the fee schedule that's in there is what's publicized, and is what we work with community members and other organizations that wish to rent our facilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll be clear that you're the final decision?
Yes.
Or your group is on
Yeah.
all of this?
And it doesn't list in there, but we also require certificate of insurance.
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah, so there are a number of things that we require to ensure the district is liability-free.
So I really like this. I do think in some cases, to get the library for an hour for $5, you're gonna spend more sending the email. But in
Yeah.
general, I like this idea. This is good.
Yeah, thank you.
And, I didn't know I could rent the gym
Yes, you can.
Yes,
as
sir.
a business
Yes,
or
yes.
some other organization, so that's great.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask, how did we come up with those rates to subsidize some of the cleaning and
Well, we take the pay rate of the individual that if the group needs a custodian or needs a cook, we use their pay rate There might be some changes depending on what time of the week or when it's happening, and we try to make some adjustments because it could fall into overtime. Regarding the fee schedules, we had a standard schedule a few years back, and then we started working with other schools on how they implement their schedules, how they increase. And so we've just slowly increased or try to meet a consistent number. As we improved our stadium, we wanted to make sure that that was protected, so we did increase that last year. And obviously there's some requirements if you're going to use the stadium, including if you wanted to use a scoreboard and whatnot, like personnel would need to be there to support, which adds to the cost.
Yeah.
So like if you took the commons for an hour, you're gonna add another $30 to clean it,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
On top of this.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah. We're also, Director Martinez, it hasn't happened yet, but we're setting ourselves up because we know that like club soccer and other club activities, like the need for facilities is outrageous right now. And it's only a matter of time before a club soccer or a club something says, we want to rent that whole thing out for the fall,
Yeah.
right? And so we're trying to make our rates competitive in the event that we have to have that conversation.
So I don't remember ever seeing a line item on the budget as far as revenue for this.
There is a rental line item in the journal.
Isn't that where, what is that revenue?
Yes.
That, I thought that was for us renting equipment or
It's on
something
both
else.
sides.
There, yeah, and if you,
Okay,
yeah, there is a line and under rental, it's 1910.
okay. I believe you.
No, yeah. Just so you can see this.
Then as far as reoccurring,
$1,500.
Yep.
Okay.
can an organization like say every Sunday, reoccurring, lock it down for a year?
They can. We typically try to do facility use agreements with reoccurring, so a lot of our youth organizations have facility use agreements where we go through a number of requirements and we come to an agreement based off those requirements. If it's independent, outside, they can lock it down, but we always have the clause that the district has reserved rights based off district-sponsored events.
Then you must have some priority chain.
Priority chain, and then again, that entity has to have a certificate of insurance, has to show that proof, make sure it's up to date and valid. We has to have a point of contact. So there's a few hoops or check boxes that we make sure are done.
So
And
we could push out kick out the flag football club team to have like a real varsity practice or something.
Correct, we would.
Anytime.
And we would work with that community group and just make sure that they know the Sundays it's not gonna work.
Yep.
I will also just add, again, in this schedule, we're one of the very few districts around that doesn't charge our youth programs
Yeah.
for use, and that's important.
Yeah.
When you look at the cost of our youth athletics, it is significantly cheaper than surrounding districts, which is why we see numbers increasing like crazy. And so I applaud the district for continuing to support that, because it is cost prohibitive in neighboring districts that shall go unnamed.
For sure. All of
that,
them. I think we're the only ones left in Clackamas
But
County.
it is cost prohibitive for them to use the district facilities. So I appreciate that we're still keeping that affordable and making it reasonable so that we can have those youth organizations that feed our school district and that are driving the successes that we're seeing from an athletics and other extracurricular activities.
Thank you.
Is this published on the website now?
Not
It
until the
will
board
be, I
approves,
mean,
but yes.
if it's
If approved, it would be on our website.
If
And
it's-
we do have a facility
May not be
use
there yet.
website where it has all the process of reserving requirements and the new fees, of the fee schedule.
Since I have experience with renting or reserving, right, like the questions go as detailed as, do you need IT support?
Right.
What do you need to have happen? Do you need, is whatever's happening, the detail of what you're doing in there so that they can supply the right people if somebody needs to be there. And because I have a group that's used it in the past, we have been asked, you cannot use it this Sunday because we have girls basketball in there, or we have something happening, which is what should happen. It should happen for the,
Yep.
you know,
As far as your team, it's voluntary, right? Say you need the gym cleaned on Sunday night after some event. I don't, you know,
We start with asking who is interested, and
it
then.
could be an opportunity
it's-
for overtime, but it
Yeah.
also could ruin their Sunday night. kinda
It
deal.
could, but if we have enough notice, which we're pretty good, I would say, most times we have a very good, clean communication system where we can give notice. And, we haven't ran into an issue where someone wasn't willing to take that time to make a little extra money, clean the area, make sure our buildings are ready for school.
And I would add one more thing as somebody who's had experience in doing facility use agreements as well, just for the good of the group. There's also provisions in there that if something happens and we require a staff to come down
Yes.
to fix something, right? It's on the hook of that organization to
Yep.
compensate and pay
Yeah.
for that. So
Yeah.
all of those provisions are in there so that if something breaks, a water line, they do something, an
Yep.
alarm starts going off, we need people to respond. They're on the hook to pay for that, so.
Is there like a minimum, like a 2-hour minimum or something?
We do, I think we would do it at the rate of the employee, and if it's a classified employee for some reason, then we follow our agreement where it's a 2-hour minimum.
Good.
That's a contract.
Contract.
Any other questions? Bigger discussion on facilities
That wasn't
tonight.
expecting that. Sounds great.
Thanks, Mike. All right. Moved, seconded, discussed. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
On to item N, the integrated pest management plan.
Here, Raydell, I move to approve the Estacada School District's integrated pest management.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion?
This is a law, and we're
I
required
was
to do
gonna say,
it.
is this like something new that we
Yes.
have to do? Okay.
Yeah.
Strange. Very interesting.
Yes. And for the last 3 years, every employee who works for the Estacada School District has to take and pass a pest management test for their annual testing. It's got to be done by October, and so don't leave crumbs around, please.
Is part of that test, how to set a mole trap and
Can they come
properly
practice at
baiting
my
a mousetrap?
property?
They need to
I
practice.
mean,
We got
yeah,
some-
but I've got some too.
Yep. Yeah.
If you
Yep.
see somebody with a backpack sprayer, run.
Yes. Yep.
Interesting. Any other questions or discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
On to item O, approve the occupational therapist contract.
Chair Adell, I move to approve the contract service of occupational therapist Natalie Shad for $90 per hour, not to exceed $70,000.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Discussion or questions? Ryan, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so this is new, but this is something that we've always done. So obviously, the school district needs an occupational therapist. We are struggling to find one to hire as an employee, and so we are subcontracting this service. This is something that we do regularly. However, I want to thank Christina Irish because of her diligence in paying attention to policy. Because even though this has been a historical practice to subcontract, at the end of the day, the district has been in violation of policy because the school board is required to approve every contract over $50,000. It doesn't matter if it's a construction contract or any other type of contract. And so starting now and this time moving forward, any contract, even if that's a subcontract of employment services, will come in front of the board because by policy, the board needs to approve anything $50,000 or more. So this is something we would have done in the past because we need an occupational therapist now. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we're always in compliance with board policy, and that's going to require your approval of anything over $50,000. Okay?
Awesome.
Can you dive into what an occupational therapist does?
I will try.
The name of it sounds like it's something for our employees, but it's not necessarily that, right?
It's not necessarily that, no. A lot of it is physical stuff, but the ability to have, to foster communication skills, the ability to do some speech and language type of work, but also the ability to access the things that they need to make learning happen. And so this is more equipping kids with skills to be able to navigate a day socially. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ben, if I could just share, like, a lot of the schools I support across the country contract the services for this, and they would pay double of what you would pay if you could find somebody that you could bring on as an
Yeah.
employee. that's what we're finding across, because these are very hard people to find. There's not that many that are in this role.
Okay, thank you.
This is halftime. Halftime.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
On to item P, the strategic plan.
Chair, right now I move to approve the Essequibo District Plan for the school year 2023, 2024 through 2027, 2028.
Second.
Excuse me, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions?
I got a question / statement. I know I've been remote, been on the meetings, but maybe not here. I don't think I've seen it. Did we have it presented? Like last time it was like by pillar, the color codes.
Yes,
I just missed it.
I think so. Yes.
Was that the copy over there behind you?
Maggie, come on up.
The board backup says, you know, we've got it and it's good.
Kathy Orapallo was also here and presented it to
So
the
I must
board.
not have been here that way.
Yeah.
I'll stand down if you've all looked at it.
We presented it in June. It's a 2.0, so it is very similar to the first plan, but we did streamline particularly some of our measures, but we have very similar 5 pillars. We got a booklet, except instead of 25 pages, it's now about 7 pages, so it's a little bit more achievable, but it'll
I
be
won't waste
on our
any more time.
website after approval.
Good question.
Good question.
Yes. It was substantially smaller, so I remember thinking, is this it? Is this all we have? So, all right. Any other discussion? Moved and seconded, discussed. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
On to item Q, which I couldn't tell you last time we had an item Q. It was probably last August. We had that many on the agenda. Professional services agreement with Career Staff Unlimited.
Chair Rydell, I move to approve professional services agreements with Career Staff Unlimited to hire speech services at Estacada High School and Summit Learning Center for a not-to-exceed amount of $70,000 for the 2023-24 school year.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded.
Yep. So again, this is a contract for service. A question might arise, the summit, what role does Summit have in this fee? And it's a good reminder that the Estacada School District is responsible for 100% of Summit Learning Charter's special education services. That's part of our 20% deal that we have with them. And so we accrue the cost of this 70% to offer special education services, in this case in speech language services, to all students at the charter school.
Has anybody ever looked into what that added cost is for Summit?
Yes, we do. We are, it's a great question. I'm trying to give you a great answer.
You can give it to me later if you
Yeah.
want.
I did it summarized to make sure that
Yeah.
we were not, like, that we were well within our 20% and that, and we're doing, because most charter school agreements are between like 9 to 11%, and we're well within with our special education costs. I did cost it out and did a comparison. I don't have the numbers with me, but we are doing well.
I think the best way I can say it is we're continuing to turn a profit
Yes.
in our relationship with them while still offering special education services to the tune of $2 million a year.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna ask more questions when we're talking about the bond, because the constituents that I talked to were very adamant that they would like to see us move back into that facility.
Sure.
So of that 2 million, how much do we spend on other services for them? So that'd be something to prepare for, Christina.
Yeah, it's good. And I can tell you that we do spend for special education services right around, I think it's $500,000 or $600,000 roughly on special education services there. The profit that we make, which is the $2 million, is what goes to our career technical education programs. So the very programs that you're passionate about, we offer those through the profit that we receive of the charter school. And because we're a small school district, most school districts our size offer 1 or 2 elective opportunities. We offer 7. And so it gives our students a whole lot more choice, similar to that of a bigger community, and it's through the extra additional profits. And so the termination of that program ultimately would lead to the termination of elective opportunities for kids at our high school, is what that correlates to. Yep. And it's a 10-year contract, so really that's a $20 million deal that we would be walking away from. Yeah.
And these, are they housed here?
Yeah, so that's a great question because Summit Charter serves 1,200 kids. Only 10% of that, 120 kids, are Estacada kids. The remainder of those students come from other school districts: Baker, Medford, Salem, all of the above. And it is the legal responsibility of the home districts to provide funding for all of that piece of it. And so we collect and do all of that work through that process also, yes. Yep. And
But
we
we
do
get a
that by
portion of-
collecting their ADM.
I was gonna say, we do
Yeah.
that because we get a
Correct.
a portion of the
Yeah.
ADM for those students that never set foot on an Estacada campus.
Yes.
And then just one other question. With our percentage of special education students, Summit, same percentage? Or are
No.
they much higher?
It's actually much lower, believe it or not, which is great for us because, and this is a great conversation, and it's important to know. The Estacada School District proper is 16% special education. Summit Learning Charter is 9% special education. So how this is an advantage to us is the state only pays up to 11% of anything special education. So if we were standalone and didn't have the Summit Charter School as a partner, we would only receive the double weighting of each special education student up to 11%. So in our case, 5% of the students who cost us roughly $16,000 a year to educate, we would not receive half of that money. We'd only get $8,000 for that child. But because our overall enrollment of 2,000 kids in the Estacada School District and 1,200 kids of Summit Charter, because we make a 3,000 student thing, our overall, I think, special education route is about 12%. And so the bigger the number allows us to be fully compensated for our 16% here. And so that's another benefit of our partnership together, is we're getting full price for every child that's being served by special education.
It's huge.
That's major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Good questions, good conversation? Anything else? Moved, seconded, and discussed. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Item R, hearing of citizens for non-action items.
Done.
None. That takes, phone calls it.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.
Yay.